Stop whatever you're doing, because the questions I'm about to ask you have destroyed brilliant minds for thousands of years. Why does anything exist at all? Does God exist, or are we alone in an empty universe? What is consciousness, and why do you have it? Do you actually have free will, or is everything predetermined? What is reality, and are you even experiencing it correctly? What's the meaning of your life, and what happens when you die? These aren't just interesting questions. These are the questions. The ones that define everything. The ones that determine how you live, what you believe, and whether any of it matters. Philosophy isn't just old men debating in libraries. Philosophy is the foundation of everything you think you know. Science can tell you how things work. Philosophy asks why anything works at all. Religion gives you answers. Philosophy asks if those answers make sense. Your entire worldview, your beliefs, your decisions, all built on philosophical assumptions you probably never examined. Today we're examining them. All 8 of the biggest philosophical questions humanity has ever asked. If you want to understand the fundamental questions that shape human existence, hit that subscribe button right now. This channel doesn't do surface-level thinking, we go deep. Before we start, drop this in the comments. I question everything, I accept nothing blindly. Let's begin with a question that breaks everything. Why is there something rather than nothing? This is the most fundamental question philosophy can ask. Before you can ask anything else, you have to answer this. Why does anything exist at all? Nothing would be simpler, easier, more logical. Nothing requires no explanation. But something exists. You exist. The universe exists. Matter, energy, space, time, all of it exists. Why? What caused existence itself? Think about it. Everything that exists has a cause. You exist because your parents existed. Your parents existed because their parents existed. The earth exists because of cosmic events. Those events happen because of physics. Physics exists because of fundamental laws. But what caused the fundamental laws? What caused the first cause? What caused existence itself to begin instead of nothing continuing forever? Science pushes this question back, but doesn't answer it. Big Bang explains how the universe expanded, doesn't explain why there was something to expand in the first place. Quantum mechanics explains particle behavior, doesn't explain why particles exist rather than nothing. Every scientific explanation assumes something already exists. None explain why existence itself started. Religious answers say God created everything. Fine, who created God? If God can exist without being created, why can't the universe exist without being created? If you say God is eternal and needs no cause, why can't the universe be eternal and need no cause? The God answer just moves the question back one step, without actually answering it. Some philosophers say existence is necessary, that nothing is actually impossible, that existence had to happen because non-existence is unstable or incomplete. But why is existence necessary? Why would nothing be impossible? What law demands something must exist? And who created that law? This question has no answer. Not because we haven't figured it out yet, because it might be fundamentally unanswerable. Every answer requires explaining what came before, and what came before that. Infinite regression. At some point something has to exist without cause, without reason, without explanation. Either God exists without cause, or the universe exists without cause. Either way, something exists for no reason, and that's terrifying, because it means existence itself is arbitrary, unexplained, possibly meaningless. Your existence, my existence, everything, all resting on something that has no explanation for being here. Machiavelli never addressed this directly, but he understood something crucial. He said, "Everyone sees what you appear to be, few experience what you really are." Applied here, everyone sees existence. Few understand that existence itself has no foundation. It just is. And accepting that changes everything about how you live. Drop this in the comments. Existence is unexplained. I exist anyway. Does God exist? This is the question that divides humanity. Billions believe yes. Billions believe no. Billions are unsure. And nobody has definitive proof either way. Every argument for God has a counter-argument. Every argument against God has a counter-argument. After thousands of years, we're no closer to proving it either way. Arguments for God's existence start with design. Look at the universe, look at life, look at consciousness. Too complex to be random, must have been designed. Design requires a designer. Therefore God exists. Sounds logical, until you ask who designed God. If complex things need designers, and God is infinitely complex, God needs a designer. Unless you say God doesn't need a designer. But if God doesn't need a designer, why does the universe need a designer? Why can't complexity arise naturally? Another argument is first cause. Everything has a cause. Trace causes backward, and eventually you need a first cause. An uncaused cause. That's God. But why does the uncaused cause have to be God? Why can't the universe itself be the uncaused cause? Why add an extra entity when the universe can serve that role? Occam's razor says simplest explanation is usually correct. Uncaused universe is simpler than uncaused God who created the universe. Moral argument says objective morality exists. Right and wrong aren't just opinions. They're real. Objective morality requires a moral lawgiver. That's God. But is morality actually objective? Different cultures have different morals. Different time periods have different morals. What we call evil now was accepted then. What we call good now was forbidden then. If morality is objective, why does it change? Maybe morality is subjective, evolved, cultural, not objective at all. No objective morality means no need for moral lawgiver. Arguments against God point to evil and suffering. If God is all-powerful, all-knowing, and all-good, why does evil exist? Why do innocent children suffer? Why do good people experience tragedy? Either God can stop it but doesn't, making God not all-good, or God wants to stop it but can't, making God not all-powerful, or God doesn't know about it, making God not all-knowing. The existence of evil contradicts the existence of an all-powerful, all-knowing, all-good God. Religious people say free will explains evil. God gave humans free will and we chose evil. But what about natural evil? Earthquakes, diseases, birth defects. Humans didn't choose those. God designed a world with those. Why? Here's the truth. You can't prove God exists. You can't prove God doesn't exist. Both positions require faith. Theists have faith that God exists despite lack of proof. Atheists have faith that God doesn't exist despite inability to prove non-existence. Agnostics admit they don't know. That's the most honest position. We don't know, can't know. The question might be unanswerable with human minds and human tools. But here's what matters. Whether God exists or not, you still have to live your life. You still have to make choices. You still have to find meaning. Believing in God might make that easier or harder depending on your personality. Not believing in God might make it easier or harder. But the question of God's existence doesn't actually change what you have to do. Live. Choose. Create meaning, with or without God. Drop this in the comments. God exists or doesn't, I live regardless. Are we alone in the universe? Given the size of the universe, this seems unlikely. Billions of galaxies, trillions of stars, countless planets. The odds that Earth is the only planet with life seem astronomically small. But we have zero evidence of other life. Zero signals, zero contact, zero proof. We're either alone or we haven't found anyone yet. Both possibilities are terrifying. If we're alone, that's horrifying. The entire universe, infinite space, billions of galaxies and consciousness only exists here? Only on this tiny planet? We're a cosmic accident that happened once and will never happen again? All that space wasted on nothing? That makes existence feel small, meaningless, and temporary. We're alone in an empty universe that doesn't care about us. If we're not alone, that's also terrifying. Where is everyone? If life is common, why haven't we detected it? The Fermi paradox. The universe is old. Very old. If intelligent life exists elsewhere, they should have spread across the galaxy by now. We should see evidence. We don't. Either life is rare, or intelligent life is rare, or intelligent life doesn't last long. All three options are disturbing. Maybe life is common, but intelligence is rare. Maybe millions of planets have bacteria, but we're the only ones who develop consciousness and technology. That makes us special, but also alone in terms of anyone to talk to. Maybe intelligence is common, but civilizations destroy themselves. They develop technology, create weapons, and wipe themselves out before spreading to other planets. That's our future too, then. Self-destruction before contact. Maybe aliens exist but don't want to talk to us. We're too primitive, too violent, too irrelevant. They're out there but ignoring us like we ignore ants. Or maybe they're hiding. Maybe there's a predatory species out there and staying quiet is survival. Making noise attracts attention you don't want. Maybe broadcasting our existence is suicide. Maybe the universe is a dark forest and everyone is hiding. We might never know. Space is too big. Distance is too vast. Even if aliens exist nearby in cosmic terms, they're still light years away. Communication would take decades or centuries each way. Travel would take thousands or millions of years. We might never make contact even if they exist. We'll live and die never knowing if we're alone or just can't reach anyone. But here's what this question reveals about us. We want connection. We want to know we're not alone. We want the universe to be full of life and consciousness and meaning. 'Cause a universe full of life means we're not an accident, means consciousness matters, means existence has purpose. We're terrified of being alone because being alone means we're cosmically insignificant, just one random accident in empty space. And that's a truth most people can't handle. If you're ready to face uncomfortable truths about existence, hit that like button right now. Drop this in the comments. Alone or not, I create my own meaning. What is consciousness? You experience it right now. You're aware, you think, you feel, you know you exist. But what is that? What is the thing experiencing your life? Science can explain neurons firing, can explain brain chemistry, can't explain why firing neurons create the experience of being you. Why you're not just a biological robot processing information. Why there's someone experiencing your life from inside. This is called the hard problem of consciousness. Easy problems are how the brain processes information, stores memories, produces behaviors. We can study those. Hard problem is why any of that creates subjective experience. Why you feel pain instead of just processing damage signals. Why you see red instead of just processing light wavelengths. Why there's something it's like to be you. Materialists say consciousness is just brain activity, nothing more. Your subjective experience is an illusion created by neurons. There's no ghost in the machine, just the machine. But this doesn't explain why the machine experiences anything at all. Why evolution created subjective experience instead of just information processing robots. Robots don't need to experience pain to avoid damage. They just need pain sensors and avoidance programming. Why did evolution add the experience of pain on top of the sensors? Dualists say consciousness is separate from the brain. Mind and matter are different things. The brain is physical. Consciousness is non-physical. They interact, but they're distinct. But how? How does non-physical consciousness interact with physical brain? What's the mechanism? And if consciousness is non-physical, how do physical brain injuries affect consciousness? Why does brain damage change personality and awareness if consciousness is separate? Panpsychists say consciousness is fundamental. Like mass or charge, it exists at the quantum level. Electrons have tiny amounts of consciousness. Atoms have tiny amounts. Brains have lots because they're complex arrangements of conscious particles. But this just moves the question, why would electrons be conscious? What's it like to be an electron? This doesn't solve the problem. It makes everything conscious, which seems absurd. Here's the truth. We don't know what consciousness is. We don't know why it exists. We don't know how matter creates it. This might be permanently unknowable. Because consciousness is the thing doing the knowing. You can't step outside consciousness to examine it objectively. Every examination of consciousness uses consciousness. It's like an eye trying to see itself without a mirror. The tool can't examine itself. But you know you're conscious. That's the one thing you can be absolutely certain of. Descartes said, "I think, therefore I am." You can doubt everything else. You can't doubt that you're experiencing doubt. The fact that you doubt proves you exist. Consciousness is the only thing you directly experience. Everything else is interpreted through consciousness. Reality might be illusion, but the consciousness experiencing the illusion must be real. Drop this in the comments. I don't understand consciousness, but I am conscious. Do we have free will? You think you make choices. You think you decide your actions. But do you? Or is everything predetermined by physics, chemistry, and biology? Every thought you have is neurons firing. Those neurons follow physical laws. Physical laws are deterministic. They follow cause and effect. No randomness, no free will, just physics playing out. Which means every choice you'll ever make was determined by the state of the universe at the Big Bang. You're not choosing, you're following a script written by physics. This is hard determinism. Everything is predetermined. Free will is an illusion. Your sense of making choices is just your brain creating a story to explain behavior that was always going to happen. You feel like you chose breakfast. You didn't. Your brain chemistry predetermined that choice. You feel like you chose your career. You didn't. Your genetics, environment, and experiences predetermined it. Every choice was inevitable from the start. This makes sense scientifically. Neurons follow chemistry. Chemistry follows physics. Physics is deterministic. Therefore, your brain is deterministic. Therefore, your choices are predetermined. But it feels wrong. It feels like you're choosing. Like you could have chosen differently. That feeling has to mean something, right? Libertarian free will says choices are free, not determined. You genuinely choose. But how? If not physics, then what determines choices? Magic? Soul? Randomness? If it's randomness, that's not free will. That's just chaos. If it's your soul, what determines your soul's choices? And if choices aren't determined by anything, they're random. Random isn't free. Free will requires choice. Choice requires reasons. Reasons are causes. Causes are deterministic. Free will contradicts itself. Compatibilism says free will and determinism can coexist. Yes, your choices are predetermined, but they're predetermined by your desires, values, and reasoning. That's free enough. You do what you want even if what you want is predetermined. This is weak free will. You're free to do what you want. You're not free to want what you want. Your wants are predetermined, so you're kind of free, kind of not. Here's what matters. Whether free will exists or not, you experience it. You feel like you choose. You feel responsible for choices. Society treats you as responsible. Legal system punishes choices. Moral system judges choices. All of this assumes free will even if it's illusion. So whether it exists or not, you have to live like it exists. You have to make choices like they're real choices. Because society demands it. And your brain creates that experience anyway. Drop this in the comments. Free will or not, I choose my actions. What is the nature of reality? Do you experience reality directly? Or do you experience a representation your brain creates? You think you see the world. You don't. You see what your brain shows you. Light hits your eyes. Electrical signals go to your brain. Brain constructs an image. That image is reality to you. But it's not reality. It's your brain's interpretation of electrical signals. The real world might look nothing like what you see. Colors don't exist in reality. They're created by your brain. Wavelengths of light exist. Your brain translates wavelengths into colors. Different wavelengths make different colors. But the wavelength itself isn't colored. Color is your brain's creation. Same with sound. Sound waves exist. The experience of sound is created by your brain. Reality is vibrations. Your brain turns vibrations into music and speech and noise. All of that is created, not real in the external world. This means you never experience reality directly. You experience your brain's simulation of reality. And your brain might be wrong. Optical illusions prove this. Your brain constructs an image that doesn't match reality. Hallucinations prove this. Your brain creates experiences that aren't real. Drugs prove this. Change brain chemistry, change experience reality. None of this changes actual reality, just changes what you experience. So what is actual reality? We don't know. We can't know. Because we can't step outside our brains to see reality without interpretation. Everything you know about reality comes through your senses. Your senses are processed by your brain. Your brain creates your experience. You're trapped inside a simulation your brain creates, you call it reality, but it's brain-generated experience. The real reality might be completely different. Some philosophers say reality might not exist at all. Solipsism, the idea that only your mind exists. Everything else is created by your mind. Other people, the physical world, all of it might be your imagination. You can't prove it's not, because every proof uses perceptions that might be imagined. You can't prove the external world exists. You only know your experiences exist. Everything else is assumption. Here's the practical truth. Whether reality exists or not, whether you perceive it correctly or not, you have to act like it exists. You have to navigate the world you perceive. Whether that world is real or simulated doesn't change how you interact with it. You still need food, still need shelter, still experience pain and pleasure. Real or simulated, you live in it. So the nature of reality philosophically doesn't matter practically. You live in perceived reality regardless of what actual reality is. Drop this in the comments. Reality is unknowable, I navigate it anyway. What is the meaning of life? This is the question everyone asks eventually. Why am I here? What's the point? What should I do with my life? And philosophy has no satisfying answer, because meaning isn't objective. It's subjective. The universe doesn't give your life meaning. You give your life meaning, and that's both liberating and terrifying. Religion provides meaning. Serve God, follow commandments, earn salvation, clear meaning, clear purpose, clear direction. But it's meaning given to you, not meaning you create. And if you don't believe in God, that meaning disappears. You're left with nothing. No external meaning, no cosmic purpose, just existence without direction. Nihilism says life has no meaning. The universe is meaningless. Existence is random. Purpose is illusion. Nothing matters. This is depressing but logical if there's no God. Without external meaning giver, there's no inherent meaning. Just atoms moving through space temporarily arranged as you. Existentialism says life has no inherent meaning, but you create your own meaning. The universe doesn't give you purpose. You choose your purpose. You decide what matters. You create meaning through your choices and actions. This is freedom. Terrifying freedom. Because now you're responsible. You can't blame God or fate or society. Your life's meaning is your responsibility. Some people find this empowering. Most find it overwhelming. Practically, meaning comes from what you care about. Relationships, work, creating, learning, helping, experiencing. Whatever makes your life feel worthwhile, that's your meaning. It's subjective, personal, not universal. Your meaning might be family. Someone else's meaning might be art. Someone else's might be achievement. All equally valid because meaning is created, not discovered. You're not finding the meaning of life, you're creating the meaning of your life. But here's the uncomfortable part. If meaning is subjective, then any meaning is as valid as any other meaning. Serial killer who finds meaning in murder has meaning. Monk who finds meaning in meditation has meaning. Both created meaning. Both meanings are equally valid philosophically. You might say one is moral and one isn't. But morality is also subjective if there's no God. So you can't objectively say one meaning is better than another. You can only say you prefer one. This is the logical conclusion of subjective meaning. And most people can't accept it. Here's what I think. Whether meaning is objective or subjective doesn't matter practically. You need meaning to keep living. Without meaning, life is unbearable. So create meaning. Pick what matters to you, commit to it, live for it, whether that meaning is objectively real or just your creation doesn't change its function. It gives you purpose, direction, motivation. That's what meaning does. Real or not, you need it, so create it and live it. Drop this in the comments. Meaning is created, I create mine. What happens after we die? Nobody knows. Nobody has come back to tell us. Every answer is speculation. Every belief is faith. You either believe in afterlife or you don't. Neither position has proof. After thousands of years of humans dying, we have zero evidence of what happens next. Just beliefs, just hopes, just fears. Religion offers afterlife, heaven and hell, reincarnation, paradise, punishment, reward, eternal existence in some form. These beliefs comfort people, give hope, make death less scary. But they're beliefs, not facts. Nobody has proven heaven exists. Nobody has proven reincarnation happens. Religious texts claim it. Believers accept it. But acceptance isn't proof. It's faith. Materialism says death is the end. Your consciousness is brain activity. Brain dies, consciousness ends, like turning off a computer. Everything that makes you you is gone. No afterlife, no continuation. Just nothing. This is terrifying to most people. Existence ending completely. Consciousness ceasing. You won't experience nothing. You won't experience anything. You'll just not exist, like before you were born. Eternal non-existence. Some people find this comforting. No judgment, no hell, no eternal anything, just peaceful non-existence. No pain, no suffering. No consciousness to worry about anything. Just done. Others find this horrifying. Everything you are, everything you've experienced, everyone you've loved, all gone forever. No seeing loved ones again. No continuation of self. Just darkness, nothingness, forever. We can speculate scientifically. Near-death experiences suggest something might continue. People report tunnels, lights, deceased relatives, profound peace. But these could be brain chemistry, oxygen deprivation, dying neurons, hallucinations, not glimpses of afterlife. We don't know. Quantum mechanics suggests consciousness might be fundamental, might continue in some form. But that's speculation, not proof, not evidence, just possibility. Here's the truth. You won't know what happens after death until you die. And when you die, you might not know anything because consciousness might end. This question is unanswerable while alive. All you can do is choose what to believe. Belief in afterlife might make your life easier or harder. Belief in no afterlife might make your life easier or harder. Choose what serves you, but recognize it's a choice. Not knowledge, not certainty, just belief. What this question really shows is how humans deal with mortality. We're terrified of death, terrified of not existing. So we create comforting stories about continuation. Maybe those stories are true, maybe they're coping mechanisms. Either way, they help people handle mortality. And handling mortality is necessary to live. Because you will die. Everyone does. Whether something comes after or not, this life ends. What matters is what you do before it ends. Drop this in the comments. Death is certain, afterlife is unknown, I live now. You've just explored 8 fundamental philosophical questions. Why is there something rather than nothing? Does God exist? Are we alone in the universe? What is consciousness? Do we have free will? What is the nature of reality? What is the meaning of life? What happens after death? None of these have definitive answers. All of them shape how you live. Because your answers to these questions, even if they're just beliefs, determine your worldview. And your worldview determines your choices. Your choices determine your life. Most people never examine these questions. They accept answers they were taught, never question them, never think deeply about them. They live on autopilot with inherited beliefs. You're different, you question, you think, you examine. That's what philosophy is. Not accepting easy answers, not being satisfied with because I said so or because it's always been that way. Philosophy demands you think for yourself, question everything, accept nothing without reason. These questions have no final answers. But wrestling with them makes you sharper, makes you think deeper, makes you live more intentionally. Because once you realize existence is unexplained, God is unprovable, reality is unknowable, and meaning is created, you can't live carelessly anymore. You have to choose, have to think, have to create your own answers. And that's harder than accepting given answers. But it's more honest, more real, more yours. Do 3 things right now. Smash that like button if these questions made you think differently. Subscribe for more deep thinking that challenges everything. Drop in the comments which question bothers you most and what you believe the answer is. Philosophy doesn't give you answers. Philosophy teaches you to ask better questions. And better questions lead to better thinking. Better thinking leads to better living. Even without final answers, the questions matter, because they force you to examine what you believe and why you believe it. And that examination is what makes you conscious, aware, human. Drop this final affirmation. I question everything, I think deeply, I live consciously.